In the shadows of abundance, a chilling reality unfolds. Millions of Americans face empty plates and growling stomachs. As food prices soar and shelves empty, desperation takes hold. Families are forced to make impossible choices, and the hunger crisis deepens. The truth is darker than anyone dares to admit. 1. America's food prices have gone off the rails. Let's stop pretending everything is fine. Food in America is officially unaffordable. What used to be an average grocery run now feels like an ambush on your wallet. You walk into the store thinking you'll grab a few essentials, and you walk out wondering how 10 basic items cost over $100. Bread, milk, eggs, beef, all up. Bread alone climbed 2%. Eggs spiked 7%. Beef hit record highs because America's cattle supply is the lowest it's been since 1951. That's not normal inflation. That's a structural failure. Meanwhile, wages barely moved. People working full-time jobs are still watching their purchasing power shrink by the week. The numbers don't lie. According to the USDA, more than 18 million U.S. households struggled to put food on the table in 2023, and over 6.8 million had to skip meals entirely. Families are quietly rationing food. Parents are eating less so their kids can eat more. These aren't isolated stories. They're happening in every city, every suburb, every rural town, and yet politicians brag about economic recovery while the average person is forced to choose between rent, gas, and groceries. SNAP benefits, once a lifeline for low-income families, are being cut, and inflation has wiped out what little help is left. Grocery store aisles that once represented abundance now symbolize debt and desperation. Deodorant costs $12, toothpaste costs $8, and people are realizing the American dollar just doesn't stretch anymore. You're not crazy for feeling like you're being squeezed. You are. Every trip to the grocery store is a reality check that survival costs more than ever. The so-called strong economy isn't feeding anyone. It's starving the very people it claims to help. Food insecurity isn't just about hunger, it's about being forced into survival mode in the richest country on earth. Americans aren't just tightening belts, they're skipping meals, counting pennies, and wondering how long they can keep this up. The truth is simple and brutal. The average American can no longer afford to eat like one. 2. The inflation lie and the real cost of living squeeze. You've been told inflation is easing. You've been told prices are stabilizing. But walk into any grocery store, and you'll know that's a lie. Inflation numbers might look manageable on paper, around 3%, but those figures mean nothing when food prices rise twice as fast. From August 2024 to August 2025, grocery prices jumped 2.7%, and restaurant food rose 3.9%. For families already stretched thin, those numbers are devastating. The government can celebrate all it wants, but the working class is bleeding out behind the statistics. Here's what's really happening. People aren't adjusting lifestyles. They're eliminating them. The middle class is learning what poverty feels like. The poor are learning what hunger actually is. Families are doing mental math at the checkout line, deciding whether to return the milk or the cereal. The choice isn't between luxuries and necessities anymore. It's between necessities and survival. And the worst part, wages haven't kept up with any of it. You can't call it an economy when the essentials outpace income every single month. The rent goes up, the utility bill jumps, gas prices climb, and now even groceries are unaffordable. The so-called cooling inflation is meaningless because it's cooling at the top while burning everyone else alive at the bottom. People are angry, frustrated, and quietly breaking down. You hear them muttering in checkout lines, "I can't keep doing this." That's not dramatics, that's despair. The number of people living paycheck to paycheck has skyrocketed. Even professionals, teachers, nurses, police officers are running out of room in their budgets. This is why you're hearing comments like, "I'm about to start stealing again," or "I'm skipping meals to stretch the month." It's not criminality, it's desperation. When people's backs are against the wall, survival instincts override social order. And that's what America is quietly walking into. A society where law-abiding citizens are forced into desperate choices because the system that promised opportunity has delivered debt and hunger. So yes, inflation might have slowed on paper, but the cost of living hasn't. The lie isn't in the math, it's in the message. The government says prices are stabilizing. The people say we can't eat, and only one of those voices is telling the truth. 3. The broken economy behind empty plates. This isn't just about grocery prices, it's about a system that's breaking down from the inside out. America's economy no longer rewards hard work, it punishes it. Wages haven't kept up with living costs for decades, but the last few years have shattered the balance completely. The Feeding America Map the Meal Gap 2025 report exposed the brutal truth. The national food budget shortfall, the money people need to buy enough food, is now in the tens of billions of dollars just to keep Americans from going hungry. That's not an adjustment gap. That's a crisis. The cause? A mix of everything. Livestock shortages, fuel costs, import disruptions, climate shocks, and profit-driven price hikes. Take beef, for example. The U.S. cattle herd has dropped to its lowest level since 1951, and beef prices are hitting record highs. The supply chain is still recovering from pandemic-era shocks, and now droughts and feed costs are pushing it over the edge. But it's not just beef. Bread, eggs, fruits, vegetables, everything is up. It's a perfect storm that keeps raising prices while incomes stay frozen. And here's the kicker, this is happening everywhere. The myth that hunger is limited to the poor is dead. According to data, 100% of U.S. counties, every single one, has residents facing food insecurity. From New York to Nebraska, from Los Angeles to Louisiana, hunger doesn't discriminate anymore. Families that used to donate to food banks are now standing in line at them. For millions, the margin for error has completely vanished. One surprise expense, a flat tire, a medical bill, a rent hike, and the grocery budget collapses. That's how fragile life has become for working Americans. And the so-called economic growth is a cruel joke when all that growth goes to corporations. While households sink deeper into debt, what's left is an economy that functions for the few and fails the many. A country that produces enough food to feed the world, but can't afford to feed its own. When the working class can't afford dinner, the system is broken, period. Food insecurity isn't an anomaly, it's the new American standard. And the longer this goes unchecked, the closer we get to a society where the supermarket becomes a battlefield and the dinner table a memory. 4. The hidden human cost of an empty table. Hunger isn't just about missing meals, it's about what missing meals does to a person over time. The USDA calls it very low food security, when people skip meals because they can't afford enough food. That sterile phrase hides something deeply human and deeply painful. In 2023, about 5 American households, around 6.8 million, fell into that category. That's millions of families experiencing actual physical hunger in one of the richest nations on earth. Here's what that looks like in real life. Parents quietly eating less, so their children don't go hungry. People watering down meals to stretch them. Families repeating the same cheap meal for days because it's all they can afford. Fresh produce and lean protein are disappearing from plates, replaced by instant noodles, boxed meals, and processed fillers. It's not a diet, it's damage control. And the longer this goes on, the heavier the toll becomes. Poor nutrition leads to fatigue, illness, stress, and depression. Medical bills rise because bad diets create bad health. People miss work, productivity falls, and the cycle tightens like a noose. It's not just an economic issue anymore, it's a biological and psychological one. Hunger weakens the body and breaks the mind. It erodes confidence, concentration, and hope. It turns ordinary life into constant triage, always patching, never recovering. The invisible cost is enormous. A child who goes to school hungry struggles to learn. An adult who skips meals can't perform at work. A senior living alone may quietly starve because pride won't let them ask for help. And all the while, the safety nets meant to protect them, SNAP, food banks, community programs, are overwhelmed, underfunded, or under attack. This is the part no one talks about. The emotional burnout of hunger. People feel ashamed, isolated, broken. They start rationing not just food, but hope itself. Hunger becomes a habit. Maybe tomorrow will be better, turns into just make it through today. And that mindset is killing people slowly. Not from lack of food alone, but from the loss of dignity that comes when you can't afford to eat. This is the hidden crisis within the crisis. the quiet destruction that statistics can't measure. Food insecurity isn't just a line on a government report. It's a parent crying in the parking lot after leaving half their groceries behind. It's a kid pretending they're not hungry at school lunch. It's a nation that produces abundance but lives in deprivation. Until America admits that hunger is not a side effect but a symptom of failure, the cycle will continue. Prices will rise. Wages will stall. Families will crumble under the pressure of just trying to survive another week. This isn't just about affordability, it's about humanity. And right now, it's slipping away one skipped meal at a time. 5. The collapse of America's safety nets. The government safety nets that once held struggling Americans above water are now shredding apart, thread by thread. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, was supposed to be the last line of defense between hunger and survival. It now barely covers a fraction of what it used to. In 2024, SNAP supported roughly 41.7 million Americans. That's over 12% of the entire population. Yet food insecurity keeps rising. Why? Because benefits no longer buy enough food to last the month. Prices have outpaced benefits by miles. What used to last 4 weeks now barely stretches 2. Families on assistance are being crushed by the gap between what the system provides and what real life demands. Rising grocery prices mean a $300 monthly benefit that once filled a cart now barely fills a basket. Eligibility restrictions are tightening. Paperwork is a nightmare, and the stigma of asking for help keeps thousands from even trying. The message from the system is clear: you're on your own. It gets worse. Single-parent and low-income households are hit the hardest, facing food insecurity rates nearing 40%. Many are one emergency away from total collapse. A flat tire, a medical bill, a broken appliance. Any small disruption means empty plates for days. Charities, food banks, and church pantries are being overrun. Lines are stretching longer, supplies are thinning out, and the volunteers are running out of hope themselves. Meanwhile, Congress debates funding like it's a theoretical exercise while families are rationing meals in silence. People are being forced to choose between keeping their lights on or keeping their kids fed. SNAP, WIC, and other aid programs were designed to keep Americans from falling through the cracks, but now the cracks have become canyons. America's safety net is no longer a net, it's a threadbare illusion. It's the difference between eating and starving, and it's failing on both counts. The system that once symbolized compassion has turned into red tape and hollow promises. And as the cost of survival keeps climbing, more Americans are learning the hard truth. The safety nets are broken, and nobody's coming to fix them. 6. The geography of hunger. Food insecurity doesn't just hit one type of person, it hits everywhere, but not equally. Every single county in America has people struggling to eat, but rural America is facing the deepest cuts. In some rural counties, child food insecurity rates are near 50%. That means 1 out of every 2 children doesn't know if dinner is guaranteed tonight. This isn't just poverty, it's abandonment. Rural families are fighting an uphill war against geography and economics. Grocery stores are miles away, fuel prices are up, and supply costs are higher. The further you live from major cities, the more expensive survival becomes. A gallon of milk might cost $2 more. Fresh fruits and vegetables, they're a luxury. Many rural areas have been stripped of real supermarkets, replaced by dollar stores with shelves full of canned goods and processed junk. That's not nutrition, that's survival food. Lower wages and fewer job opportunities amplify the crisis. Rural communities that used to rely on farming or small industries are now hollowed out, left with low-paying service jobs and part-time gigs that don't cover the basics. Poverty in the countryside isn't just financial, it's logistical. It costs more to live when you're far from resources. Transportation eats into grocery money, and lack of access means people eat whatever is cheapest, not whatever is healthiest. And yet, urban areas aren't escaping either. Cities are filled with working-class families who can't keep up with rent, bills, and food at the same time. Suburban areas are quietly joining them. People who once saw themselves as comfortable now feel the pressure closing in. Food insecurity has no zip code anymore, it's everywhere. From New York apartments to rural Mississippi shacks. The narrative that hunger is a rural or poor person problem is outdated. The truth is, hunger has gone mainstream. It doesn't care if you drive a truck or take the subway. It doesn't care if you live in a city loft or a small farmhouse. When every region of the country has people skipping meals to survive, the entire nation is failing. Geography may shape the struggle, but desperation speaks one language everywhere: hunger. 7. The psychological breakdown of a hungry nation. The emotional and psychological toll of this crisis is beyond numbers. It's breaking people from the inside out. Living under constant financial stress does something to the human mind. It rewires you. People stop living, they start surviving. Every purchase becomes a calculation. Every meal becomes a negotiation. People are stretching deodorant, skipping toothpaste, and cutting back on everything just to keep up. It's survival mode 24/7. When you're hungry long enough, your brain changes. You stop thinking about dreams and goals. You think about calories, bills, and how to make it through the next day. Parents hide their panic from their kids. Workers skip lunch because they can't afford to buy one. College students are pretending they're fine while running on coffee and instant noodles. This isn't resilience. It's quiet collapse. Diet quality is the first casualty. People are trading nutrition for survival. Ultra-processed, high-calorie junk food has become the default diet because it's cheap and filling. It's slow poison, but at least it's something. Over time, this destroys health, immunity, and mental stability. Hunger leads to irritability, anxiety, and depression, and yet Americans are told to budget better, as if mental exhaustion can fix inflation. The result? Desperation is morphing into dangerous behavior. Petty thefts, grocery store shoplifting, black market trading. These aren't crimes of greed, they're cries for help. People are being driven to extremes, not because they want to break the law, but because the system broke them first. Hunger breeds hopelessness, and hopelessness breeds chaos. And let's not forget the long-term scars. Children growing up in food-insecure homes are statistically more likely to face mental health issues, lower academic performance, and even chronic diseases later in life. This is how a generation is quietly being damaged before it ever gets a chance to rise. You can't measure this kind of suffering in data. You see it in the hollow eyes at the checkout line. You hear it in the silence of parents who don't know what to make for dinner. The American mind is being worn down by hunger, not just in the stomach, but in the soul. 8. The systemic collapse of affordability. This crisis isn't about temporary inflation. It's a full-blown affordability collapse. The American dollar has lost its backbone. Everything costs more: food, housing, gas, electricity, healthcare, and wages can't catch up. The middle class is being erased in real time. What used to be basic necessities are now luxuries. Food isn't guaranteed anymore. It's a financial strategy. Purchasing power has collapsed, but the narrative coming from media and government is still detached from reality. They say prices are stabilizing while families are drowning in bills. They say economic recovery while people max out credit cards for groceries. They say low unemployment while millions work 2 jobs and still can't fill the fridge. That's not stability. That's survival on borrowed time. Food is no longer treated as a right, it's becoming a privilege. You can see it in the divide between those who buy organic and those who buy whatever's on sale. Between those who meal prep for health and those who stretch a $5 dinner for a week. This isn't a temporary imbalance. It's a structural failure. A system designed to keep profits high and people hungry. The signs are everywhere. Empty refrigerators. Overworked parents. Food banks running out of supplies. Kids showing up to school tired and hungry. Americans are exhausted. Not from laziness, but from carrying the crushing cost of simply staying alive. This is the silent emergency no one in power wants to talk about. The affordability crisis isn't visible in stock markets or GDP charts. It's visible in skipped meals, in unpaid bills, in the quiet breakdown happening inside millions of homes. The illusion of prosperity is cracking. The American dream now comes with an asterisk. Only if you can afford it. The system that once promised opportunity now delivers exhaustion. And while politicians argue over statistics, the people who built this country are rationing hope the same way they ration food, just trying to make it last one more day. This isn't inflation anymore. It's systemic collapse, and it's devouring the very foundation of the American way of life. 9. The hard reality. It's worse than anyone realizes. The numbers are finally exposing what most Americans already feel in their gut. The country is in a full-blown food crisis. In 2023, 13.5% of U.S. households, that's over 18 million families, couldn't afford enough food. Think about that for a second. 18 million homes where parents skip meals, kids go to bed hungry, and dinner tables are filled with anxiety instead of food. Families with children are hit even harder. Nearly 18% of them face hunger on a regular basis. This isn't an exaggeration. It's a national emergency hiding behind sanitized government reports. The average food budget shortfall per household is now several dollars per meal. Multiply that across the population, and you're looking at a shortfall that runs into tens of billions of dollars every single year. Billions in food people should be eating, but can't afford to buy. This isn't a tight month situation anymore. It's structural collapse. It's the middle class dissolving while the poor are left to fight over crumbs. The truth no one wants to say out loud is this: America's cost of living has outgrown its citizens. It's not about bad spending habits or lack of budgeting skills. You can't budget your way out of a broken system. The math doesn't work anymore. Prices rise faster than paychecks, and every safety net meant to catch people is already full of holes. Behind the statistics are real people. Parents crying in grocery store parking lots, kids pretending they're not hungry, seniors choosing between food and medicine. This is what collapse looks like in slow motion. The richest country on earth is now home to millions who can't afford a basic meal. And yet the headlines talk about economic growth and record stock markets. The disconnect between the data and the dinner table has never been wider. The hard reality is simple. Americans aren't being dramatic when they say, "I can't afford to eat." They're telling the truth. The system is broken. The numbers prove it, and the suffering is spreading faster than anyone realizes. What's coming next isn't just hunger. It's the social fallout of a nation that let its people starve while pretending everything was fine. 10. The final message. A nation on the brink. Let's stop dressing it up. This isn't normal inflation. This is a full-scale affordability breakdown ripping through the foundation of everyday life. Food, once the most basic necessity, has become a gamble. Americans now shop with calculators in hand, afraid of the total at the checkout. People aren't buying what they want anymore. They're buying whatever costs less. Survival has replaced choice. Every system meant to keep this from happening is crumbling. Food assistance programs are stretched thin. Charities can't keep up. Supply chains are vulnerable to every global shock. And the working class, the backbone of America, is being pushed to the edge. Families who once donated to food drives are now standing in line at them. This is what collapse looks like when it's quiet, when it's hidden in plain sight. And make no mistake, this crisis doesn't discriminate. Hunger has infiltrated every demographic, urban and rural, white collar and blue collar, young and old. Everyone is feeling the squeeze. Even those earning decent salaries are starting to notice that their money doesn't go as far as it used to. The economy may be growing on paper, but it's shrinking in reality, one grocery bill at a time. The message here isn't about panic, it's about awareness. Americans need to stop treating this as a temporary inconvenience and start recognizing it for what it is: a national emergency. If millions are skipping meals in a country that wastes tons of food every year, that's not an economic problem, it's moral decay. If people are rationing food while corporate profits soar, that's not market adjustment, that's exploitation. The silence must end. Pretending this isn't happening will only make it worse. The hunger crisis is not waiting for anyone. It's spreading, deepening, and reshaping what it means to live in America. The only way forward is through collective awareness and action. Communities supporting each other, demanding change, and refusing to accept starvation as a side effect of capitalism. This is the final warning. Food insecurity isn't just an economic issue anymore. It's a national identity crisis. A country that can't feed its own people has lost the right to call itself prosperous. America is standing on a knife's edge between recovery and collapse. Which way it falls depends on whether the people finally wake up or keep pretending everything is fine.